So my name is Jamie Lewis. I am a manager in a team called Data Analytics and AI, and I work for a consulting company called Baringa Partners. I went to Clare Grant Primary School, and then I went to Langdon Park College, which I think is like a sports college or something else now. And then I went to, it was called Tower Hamlets College, it's now called New City College, and it's still just as lovely. I was there only a year ago. Me, myself, I didn't know yet, but I was gay. But it seemed like everyone else knew that apart from me at the time. So going to school in Tower Hamlets, where I was one of the few people that was like that, it instantly made me stand out. And also, I'm really tall. You can't tell because I'm sitting down, but I'm an absolute giant. So it's kind of a bit of a walking target, be it at school or outside of school. But overall, loved it. It built me character, it made me resilient. It made me really direct in what I want to say, and I don't hold my opinion back. So I ended up doing the 3 sciences plus the 2 maths, absolutely loved it. This is why I really appreciate the college and how, because I was fortunate enough to get the grades that allowed me to do 5 A-levels, because there was like minimum levels you have to do, and it doesn't mean that doing 3 or 4 or 5 means there's any difference in the opportunities that are available to you later in life. For me, doing that is because I'm just generally interested and generally nerdy, and I wanted to spend more time in school. I wasn't as social back then, so I didn't have doing that much work. It didn't take away from something else, because I didn't have a lot of friends that I spent a lot of regular time with. And so in terms of juggling, I guess at that time, I didn't have to juggle as much, because it would kind of get up, go to college, go home. More to explain, it's like, it's really important for me when people hear someone's done that much work and is juggling all that stuff, is to understand the context that it's in, and the fact that there's still various ways to be successful depending on doing 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. Oh, I just loved learning. It's something that I always wanted to do. And in my family, I was the first person who went to uni straight out of college. So it's like my mum and my uncle both did degrees, but they did it later in life. So my mum did it a little bit later, my uncle did it a lot later. So that was really important for me to set the bar, because there was lots of young people in my family, and particularly young people who were in far worse environments to me, and it was important for me to set an example to show that people from our family can do brilliantly. You don't need to finish up school or whatever and spend 5, 10 years finding yourself and kind of maybe making some mistakes before you can kind of get your life on track. There is a way to do it from the get-go. So it made sense, and I think my attachment to maths came from me misunderstanding people around me quite often and feeling quite isolated in my sense of humour, or when I understood something but everyone else didn't understand something. And to be fair, I'm saying this like this only applied to back then. This is still extremely relevant today. And then so maths, it's like the theorems and the proofs and the fact that there's always a right answer. I know when you go to the extreme ends of the spectrum, there isn't, for the real maths geeks that are looking at this interview, but it's just nothing would get me going more than that. I would spend all night in the library with this whiteboard doing proofs and theorems that just made sense. There was always something logical to do next. And that's why I wanted to keep doing it. It's kind of what kept me sane, I would say. Because you literally make the friends that you make for life. It is no doubt. You know, like the show Friends, for example, you end up building that kind of relationship from the get-go, and that's what's brilliant about uni. I was really excited to do that, because all you had to do is you'd go to classes during the day and stuff, and the thing is, you're not at classes 9 to 5, or I'm saying 9 to 5 like it's a full-time job, 9 to 3. You might have an hour of class or 2 hours of class a day. You know what you do outside of those? You might do a bit of studying, but most of the time you're hanging out with friends, you're talking about life, you're talking about what's happening in the world. And it was just so lovely. Every day was an absolute joy. I spent a year doing the job that I did as a part-time job, which was just working in a call center. And that worked out quite well. And whilst I was there, I was figuring out what I wanted to do. In fact, it only took me, 4 months after finishing uni to get a job, but the job didn't start until September next year. So I ended up just being stuck, basically. And it was a great experience, but it was a time for me just to kind of chill and settle. Moving on from that, I then actually started my career, and I went and worked for a company called Deloitte. And the reason I applied there is because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I've always not known what I wanted to do. I've always just wanted logic, things to make sense, there to be a right answer. So I started looking at the grad schemes, and I came across one that was a grad scheme in data and analytics. And that was the first one that I read where it made sense, where it was like it was talking about tables and structures and stuff like that. So anyway, moving on, I went to KPMG and I worked in consulting there, and I worked with some really, really lovely people. And what was really good is I had the opportunity to share my knowledge with a lot of the team. So again, it was a similar position. I've got really, really good technical skills. My soft skills could probably do with work, how direct I am and stuff like that. But because my technical skills were so good, it meant I did really, really well. And then finally, I went to a company called Beringer, where I work now, Beringer Partners. So I manage teams. I've got a team of 4 at the moment. They're wonderful. What I am good at is I'm good at identifying patterns and working with what I'm given to get a result. And that was the skill I was able to bring to the table at Beringer, and that's what's the skill that I utilised for a number of years. Let's try and keep this focused on Tower Hamlets and the environment that I was in. So I lived around Bow all of my childhood. Chris Street was a place that I loved to jam. Mile End, you'd go just to kind of walk over the yellow bridge so that you could like look down at the cars. With that, if you take that into account, plus how close-knit the community is, it means you're always running into people you know, or at the very minimum, you're always seeing people you know. Whereas I haven't experienced that as much in other areas that I've lived in. I didn't experience it as much in Manchester, even though it's smaller. I didn't experience it as much I've lived in South London for the last few years, so I've lived a bit further out in Forest Hill. I now live in Peckham. The only regular faces I see are probably people that live in my same block. You don't get that anywhere else that I've experienced. And with that in mind, you have this sense of community and ownership. It's like when something goes wrong in Tower Hamlets, I feel like people like gather, not to like record and like get ticked up. That obviously happens, but more people want to help and want to check what's going on and stuff like that. I feel like I've taken that experience and taken it into work. I'm usually the first one to jump when someone needs help, something is wrong, someone wants to learn something, stuff like that. And fair enough, I'm not perfect all the time. There's times I get stressed, there's times that I'm too busy, there's times that I might say, yeah, I'll do something and then I don't do it, which happens all the time, by the way, but when someone watches this who works with me. But that's kind of the thing that from Tower Hamlets that I feel like I've taken into work. I'm such a caring person, I'm a people leader, I'm always looking out for people. It's kind of, I can recognize when someone's about to cry and I'm like, do you want to go to the lift? Do you want to go have a chat? Do you want to go have a coffee? Overall, it's kind of that people experience. I think that's what you take from Tower Hamlets and you apply it to a lot of work, because all of us can do such different things. Because we didn't have role models. Like when I was growing up, I had zero example of who I wanted to be or what I could achieve or what I could do. And it's kind of, there was plenty of lovely, lovely people who kind of popped by school and stuff like that. And it's just their career trajectory didn't align with the objectives that I had for myself. For me, yeah, we didn't have role models, and I think I'm a role model. What I know I am brilliant at is I'm brilliant at demonstrating the trajectories that are available for people from Tower Hamlets. As in, we can have those high-flying careers that you see on TV, and we can still do it whilst being ourselves. But it's about us showing the community that there's so much greatness that can happen here. First of all, get a job anyway. If you're looking for a job, get a job in the meantime. Find whatever you need to do to get some money and some independence. But other than that, is when you're looking for jobs, you need to start with finding something that you want to do. So what's important to you? So when I was thinking about what's important to me, it was something that's similar to exam style, like something where there's quick wins, where there's a clear answer, where there's an outcome that you can work towards and answers right. So it's like starting with that importance and then finding a job that's sat around it. The other thing that I would consider as well is possibly how you get to where you want to be. So I knew, because I didn't have any role models, because I didn't have any credibility, I didn't have people that could vouch for me, I was like, I just need to get my foot in the door somewhere where people would have heard of them. And I did. And that built my credibility. Like with my second job, I probably was a bit too high in level. And to be honest, with my current job, I was probably brought in at a level further than I should have been. And that might be partly because of my gift of the gab, but it's also because of the reputation I had of having those experiences on my CV. And it doesn't mean you need the specific ones that I've spoken about today to do well. It's about looking at it strategically, thinking longer term and going, all right, I'm going into this job because I want to do it at least for a year. But it does not mean that you're signed up for it forever. It's really just about creating, my colleagues gonna laugh at this, but creating an environment in Tower Hamlets that is of hope and vision and success and being really cool and being able to show what all of us are capable of. Because if you take the personality of someone from Tower Hamlets and you combine that with a career where there's growth, there's promotions, there's trajectory, there's the opportunity to teach and share our experience as well, ultimately, what bad could come from that? Actually, really great things come from that.